Okay, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for taking a few minutes out of your time to let me present 360 SA to you. Next slide, please. So, we started off by needing to provide 360 vision systems after we had had a couple of our soldiers captured. We did not have good vision after dismounting. This is several years ago now. And we were ordered in Israel to come up with a 360 SA solution. Thank you. So that was the motivation. We started off with driver vision enhancement, and we progressed up to the full 360. Since then, we've incorporated components going through our processor for vehicle diagnostics and sensor diagnostics. So we're stitching multiple sensors together and fusing them to give a more holistic approach to situational awareness. Some of the motivations you'll see up there, collision avoidance, urban maneuvering. In that urban maneuvering, it was identified to us that after IEDs, the rollover was probably one of the next major causes of accidents and fatalities during Iraq. So several of the services approached us to see if we could provide a solution, which we did, of course, with near-wheel vehicles, so that they could negotiate the narrow passes and so on in Iraq and Afghanistan. So here you see a good progressional growth on the bottom there, the driver vision enhancement. It could be 3 or 4 cameras giving you 120 degrees field of view. Marching up the ladder there, you've got a 360, which is typically 8 cameras on a combat vehicle. On a tactical vehicle, you can probably do it with 6. Here we overlap the cameras, we stitch like images that each of the overlapping cameras can see, and then we give a continuous 360 panorama from which we can apply numerous algorithms, whether that's video motion detection or record and replay. Here's an example on a LAV3 upgrade. This is a Canadian vehicle where we had a PTZ in the front. So one of those features from the 360 allows you to slew the queue. Wherever you touch on that panorama, you can slew, in this case, a PTZ. In some cases, we have vehicles that slew weapon stations. I'll take this opportunity to pause and say that the technologies being discussed here, along with the unmanned ground vehicles and loitering aerial munitions, can be found in our booth 2161, just down on the left-hand side, about halfway down in Hall B here. Next slide. So we're staring at 360. We're not rotating, we're staring at it. The cameras do not rotate. That allows us, we use analog cameras at this point. We've taken a look at some digital ones, but we're not getting the kind of latency that our end user requires. We're told we have to be under 80 milliseconds, and we're around about 68, 69 glass to glass, depending upon the cameras being used. Next, go ahead. So it's real time, 360, persistent, nothing rotating. Next slide. So this is a typical view, typical display that you would see. On the lower portion, you will see the 360 stitched seamlessly, and wherever you touch on there, you will see an enlarged region of interest in the upper quadrant. This particular display, which was ordered specifically for a customer, you can see bezel controls as well around the perimeter of the screen. It's very intuitive. Could you go back a slide, please? Excuse me. It's very intuitive. As you can see on the bottom there, the red reticle is around 12 o'clock. So you've got 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 6 o'clock. It's really easy. It's not as nauseous to the driver and the commander, and as I said, very intuitive. And come along to the booth and you can play with our screen back there if you'd like. Next slide, please. Thank you. This is the example of the urban maneuvering where the customer requested a camera towards the rear of the vehicles. Here you see in the lower portion of the screen, the left-hand side and the right-hand side of the front wheels being shown to make sure they can stay on the narrow track for either tight, close quarter maneuvering or in some cases just parking the large vehicles. Next slide. So I just wanted to identify a few of the technical aspects. We have three major component sizes, shall we say. We have a low, medium, and high. The low would be a brick. This would be still providing all the capability, but without any real ability for growth. Our medium is a scalable configuration mechanically, where we can take modules and add them one on top of the other. And our high end, which would be a VIDA 46, either a 6U or a 3U VIDA 46 size card. In this case, we can offer you space so that you can come along and bring your own card with your own algorithms and sensors on it if you wanted to introduce any of your capability into our system. It's, could you go back, please? Thank you. As you can see there, it's a Linux-based operating system. And one of the things we've come to learn quickly is that once you start to provide this capability, the end user comes along with a lot of what-ifs. And in that case, it is always typical for us in the engineering side of this to go in with a spare slot to enable us to expand, either adding communication links and going through our processor to produce it. So overlays, vehicle overlays and vehicle diagnostics, multiple CAN buses, all of that comes through our processors on various vehicles. Next slide. So to summarize, the challenge was to provide a safer vehicle. And as I said, it really stemmed very poignantly from one particular hostage that was taken several years ago that has since been returned. But this was the challenge, provide a safer vehicle, not only for situational awareness for dismounting troops, but also for maneuvering the vehicle. From that came what ifs. Could we do the overlay, get rid of one of the displays in here, and put the vehicle diagnostics on your display? And we've grown since then. So once again, in summary, it's a camera agnostic, it's a display agnostic system. If you have a legacy vehicle that is providing you hypothetically 120 degrees of situational awareness and you'd like to consider 360, we could use those cameras you already have on the vehicle, we could use the display you already have on the vehicle, and after we've surveyed the vehicle and added additional cameras, we can apply our algorithms to the processor, either your processor if it's got enough horsepower, or one of ours. So please think of the solution as one that could be adopted and likely be adopted to a legacy vehicle and could certainly be adopted to new vehicles. So with that, I'm not sure how long I took, but I know I had to do it in about 10 or 15, so I'm okay. So thank you very much, and if there are any questions, the gentleman at the back has a mic. Once again, while we're getting the mic over, come over to 2161 and take a look. Yes, sir.
Can you talk a little more about the benefits of analog, and can you, I'll assume you can integrate the analog with digital signals that might be coming through C4I nets? Thank you.
You can integrate the two. The reason for the analog was as I said, first of all, there wasn't, and there still isn't, and probably FLIR are going to chase me here, but as far as digital IR is concerned, it's new. Let me put it that way. It's new. And there's far more selection and variety in the analog world as far as IR is concerned. And it doesn't help when most of you here can probably go into your basement and see some super high-def digital images on your TV. High-def, IR, and digital high-def day cameras, color cameras are fairly new. And they typically come with a lot of overhead management, shall we say. Whereas the analog, nothing is processed on the camera end, it's all done at the processor end. Now, that's not to say that some of the folks who are exhibiting digital cameras here couldn't come looking for me later on, and we'd like to offer that opportunity to use them. However, we can't at the moment, while our stipulation is we've got to be under 80 milliseconds. Thank you. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Dave.